as you can see from the headline, this actually happened. And yes, they gave a... But this goes much further. Why does the West hate Russia? It's not for the invasion of Ukraine. It's because Russia beat Germany. The others came along for the ride. See, what really ended the war was when Germany decided to invade Russia. If that never happened, I've said this in other videos, Germany would have won World War II. There was no military force bigger than the Russians. Understand that. So this does not surprise me. And I heard people say, oh, Russia, the U.S. tries to make, I've heard, oh, but Russia went and grabbed up, why would they grab up anyone that was associated with the Nazi army after what they did to Germany? I mean, to Russia. No, they would not have. So this whole, the West loved, and this goes back to the Catholic Church too, is that Hitler was born half Jewish on his dad's side. Then later, after his parents died, I think it was his girlfriend committed suicide. He became a vegetarian, then later converted to Catholicism. I'll show you how the Catholic Church, what the current Jesuit, he's not really the Pope, by the way. He's a Jesuit, child molesting, Nazi. Yes, Brazil and Argentina were places where a lot of these Nazi war criminals, very elite ones, besides the U.S., Canada, England, were allowed to escape being prosecuted at the time for their war crimes. So this doesn't surprise me. The Canadian government knew this guy was in their country. It's the fact that the backlash came and then they try to act like they didn't know. But yeah, they knew. Canadian Parliament and Prime Minister give standing ovation to Ukrainian Nazi war criminal. Yeah, this is him right here. This man was served in the Ukrainian Nazi army under Stefan Bandera for Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Germany. See, he voluntarily joined. And when you look at, Zelensky, he's a Jew. So was fucking Hitler, and he was a goddamn filthy Nazi. Zelensky's a Nazi. Let's not kid ourselves. He supports the Azov Battalion, which are Nazis. And the West hates Russia because they know that they won World War II. It wasn't America, it wasn't the UK, and it wasn't fucking, Canada. They came along, but they did not play the biggest part in what ended World War II. They like to rewrite history like saying, trying to act like Russia bombed Japan, which they didn't. It was America. Because Russia didn't have the atomic bomb at the time. They actually lied to the world when they said they had it, and then later they actually developed the nuke on their own. On Friday, Canada's entire parliament and Prime Minister Justin Trudeau gave a standing ovation to Yaroslav Homka, a Ukrainian former member of Adolf Hitler's Wolfen SS, which played a leading role in the extermination of European Jews from 1941 to 1945. Also, joining in the thunderous applause was Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky, who was in the parliament as an honored guest. They knew who this guy, they vetted him. They're only saying we didn't know because, yeah. The shocking public embrace of a Nazi war criminal and participant in the greatest crimes in human history has shed light on the Canadian government's long-standing ties to the Nazi Ukrainian fascist collaborators and their political descendants, and as well the broader rehabilitation of fascism as part of the U.S.-NATO war against Russia and Ukraine. Yeah. On Friday, House Commons Speaker Anthony Rota introduced Honka, who was seated in the parliamentary gallery. He was described as a veteran from the Second World War who fought for Ukrainian independence against the Russians and continues to support the troops today, even at the age of 98. Problem with that is, by the time Russia, the whole thing in Ukraine, it was after Hitler invaded Russia. It was after Russia switched sides and joined the Allies. Yeah, and the reason they were in there, and there were Russian citizens inside, who were actually fighting even before Hitler went into, there were kids that fought inside Ukraine, Russian Ukrainians, who actually fought the Nazis in Ukraine, children. Yeah. Yaroslav Hunka Rota continued, is a Ukrainian hero, a Canadian hero, and we thank him for all his service. In unison, Zelensky, Trudeau, Deputy Prime Minister Krista Freeland, the leaders of the opposition parties, all the assembled PMs and senators, and the top brass of Canada's military rose to their feet to give Hunka a standing ovation. He in turn stood and pumped his fists. It soon emerged that this Ukrainian and Canadian hero was a war criminal. Hunka had fought for Ukraine independence because Stefan Bandera joined Hitler because he believed Hitler would give, because at the time Ukraine was a part of the Soviet Union. It was not an independent country. It was a part of the Soviet Union. He, being a Nazi himself, thought that joining Hitler would help Ukraine gain its independence from the Soviet Union, which he didn't. Hitler was a notorious fucking fabricated liar. He lied to a lot of people. This is why even in the Nazi army they tried to kill his ass. Plus Hitler was really terrible as a military leader. Could run his mouth. Oh, he could run his mouth as good as anybody. But as far as fucking a military leader, he sucked. That's why they lost in Russia. Yeah, as a member of the special unit of the Nazi SS, the Waffen SS, 14th Garrison Division. Apart from its most senior officers, the Garrison Division was comprised of Ukrainians, most of them members of one of the rival wings of the fascist organization of Ukraine Nationalists, OUN. Created by Himmler in 1943, the 14th Waffen SS Garrison Division trained at Nazi concentration camps and carried out mass killings of Poles, Jews, and Slavs. Yes, the Nuremberg Tribunal later found that mere membership in the SS was a criminal act. Well, he won't be prosecuted. He's 98 years old. The exposure of Hunka's role in the SS has generated a social media firestorm. Ivan Kachasovsky, a University of Ottawa lecturer and critic of Canada's role in instigating and prosecuting the U.S.-NATO war crimes against Russia over Ukraine, drew attention to posting by Hunka that depict and speak proudly of his involvement in the Waffen SS. Jewish organizations have demanded Canada's Parliament apologize for celebrating an SS veteran. Why don't they all just step the fuck down? An apology is owed to every Holocaust survivor and veteran of the Second World War who fought the Nazis. That includes fucking Russia. Declared a friendship of the Simon Wiesenthal Center statement, and an explanation must be provided as to how this individual entered the hallowed halls of Canadian Parliament and received recognition from the Speaker of the House and a standing ovation. Oh, they all knew. Trudeau knew. This could not have happened because Trudeau's the leader of Canada. Trudeau, Conservative leader, they all fucking plotted. Pierre Poilievre, NDP leader, Jagmeet Singh, and others are now scrambling to disassociate themselves from Friday's event. Yeah, it ain't helping them. All are claiming to have had no role in the Speaker's. Actually, the Speaker couldn't have done this without Trudeau. Honorary calling out of Hunka, and to have been unaware of his Waffen. Yeah, you should look at Canada helping hide Nazis in Canada. SS membership. The PM did not meet him, said, oh yeah, I believe that as far as you can throw Justin Trudeau. Government House Leader Karina Gold. I am deeply troubled this happened. I urge MPs to avoid politicizing this. Is like when you did it to the Ottawa to the Canadian truck drivers when you called them Nazis for having a fucking, what was it, a Confederate flag. Yeah, fuck off, bitch. On Sunday, House Speaker Rota issued a perfunctory, I might be pronouncing that wrong, apology in which he personally accepted all. He could not have done this without Justin Trudeau's permission. Responsible for Parliament recognition of Honka. I give subsequently become aware, Rota claimed, of more information which causes me to regret my decision to honor Honka. I wish to make clear that no one, including fellow parliamentarians and the Ukrainian delegation, was aware. Oh, fuck off! They absolutely knew who this fucker was. That's why Zelensky was like pumping his fist. Yeah, another Nazi. Delegation was aware of my oh please, they all knew. That's why they were all like, oh my god, this was so. You have to watch the video. It's so hilarious how much they all knew this was. They knew exactly where the fucker was sitting. They met with the guy beforehand. Was aware of my intention or of my remarks before I delivered them. Fuck off. You can't give a speech without it being approved. This despite the fact that Honka's passed as public information and Honka himself has boasted of it. Yeah. They have a lot of Nazis live in Canada. When Hitler was doing his shit, there was a guy actually in Canada trying to start the Third Reich in Canada. I'm not joking. You can go look it up. Kevin Smith put in his movie, it wasn't Tusk, it was his sequel to Tusk. Yeah, I mean, the movie's awful, but yeah, it's funny how, yeah, it's impossible to take seriously claims that the speaker was left to his own devices in scripting his introduction for Zelensky's address to Parliament, as Trudeau made it clear in his own remarks during Zelensky's visit. His government, and in this, it has the support of the entire Canadian ruling class, is determined to support the Ukraine war for as long as it takes to secure victory. This it has defined as restoring the Kiev regime's pre-2014 borders, including retaking Crimea, and in franker moments as regime change in Moscow. That's never going to happen. There is every reason to believe that the higher level individuals in the government and their allies in the Ukrainian Canadian Congress, the UCC, wanted to use Zelensky's visit to further their long-standing efforts to promote and publicly honor the far-right Ukrainian nationalists who collaborated with the Nazis. They were all Nazis. No doubt they calculated that they would have allies in Zelensky and his entourage. After all, the Ukrainian regime openly celebrates Stefan Bandera, his own and the Ukrainian insurgent army, UPA, which in their drive for ethnically pure Ukraine participated both in the Holocaust and Hitler's war of extermination against the USSR, and it's incorporated the Azov Battalion and other fascist groups that venerate Bandera and his UPA into the Ukrainian military and security services. Yeah. According to credible reports, there were plans for Trudeau and Zelensky to meet with Honka, the SS veteran, meet him with the government house leader Gold. There were many people in attendance, beginning with Zelensky, Deputy Prime Minister Freeland, who would have immediately known from Rota's description of him that Honka was a fascist and that he was either a member of the Waffen SS or of Bandera's own B and its UPA. The Canadian state, as the World Socialist website has it, extensively documented, has a 3/4 of a century association with the Ukrainian far right. Following World War II, it provided safe haven to tens of thousands of Nazi collaborators from both factions of the own, helped them whitewash their crimes, and used them as tools of its Cold War policy, including against left influence within Canada's large Ukrainian community. Ottawa also owed some 20,000 former members of the Gazin division, Hunka included, to come to Canada. The UCC has, for years, served as the nexus of a network of Ukrainian cultural organizations and the academic study programs aimed at promoting a far-right, virtually anti-communist and anti-Russian Ukrainian nationalism. Following the Stalinist bureaucracy dissolution of the USSR, it played a major role with Canadian government support in re-injecting far-right nationalism into Ukraine, and has come to play an even more important and provocative role in Canada's foreign policy. The UCC has long defended and advocated for the Waffen SS veterans. Honka is himself active in the UCC, and an endowment fund has been set up in his name and that of his late wife at the University of Alberta, Canada's Institute of Ukrainian Studies. The alliance between Canadian imperialism and the Ukrainian far right is embroiled in the current government's Deputy Prime Minister, Finance Minister Christina Freeland, who from an early age was enrolled in UCC youth groups. Her maternal grandfather, Mika Halia Chomiki, was the editor of Krakowiski Visti, the only Ukrainian newspaper allowed to appear under Nazi occupation. It published a constant stream of anti-Semitic incitement and campaigned for the creation of the Ukrainian Manned SS Division. The most fervent war hawk in the government, Freeland, has spoken frequently and lovingly of how her grandfather schooled her in Ukrainian culture and nationalism. When reporters of her grandfather's role as a Nazi collaborator first surfaced, the political establishment and corporate media joined her in denouncing them as Russian misinformation. The Canadian elite, like that of NATO allies, tries to hide the predatory strategic interest animating its ever-escalating war on Russia with claims it is defending Ukrainian democracy and sovereignty. There is no sovereignty. But the alternate reactionary forces upon which it relies to ideologically and militarily wage this war, as underscored by Friday's standing ovation for a Nazi SS murderer, an honored member of the pro-Banderite UCC, illustrate its true character. Yeah, and by the way, yeah, he points that out in this. Oh, Canada's not the only country that hid Nazis. America did it. We brought them in, created the, NATO. I mean, not NATO. We created NASA. Then we used them to create our bioweapon programs that we used to create the pandemic that paralyzed the world in every country, not just in China. Go look in Ukraine. We were trying to kill the Russians and the Chinese. We used them, we brought them in, and even the ones that committed war crimes inside Russia after they invaded Russia, used them in the CIA. We actually protected them. So England, I think, did the same thing. And the Catholic Church. Hell, Hitler and the Pope were such good friends. I have to look this. I'm going to look this up right now, but I know. I'm going to bring this up because this is. Yeah, here's a thing most people do not know. The Pope. This was the Pope at the time, and this is PBSO. Yeah, this PBS. I'm going to use this. It says Vatican documents show secret black channel between Pope Pius the 12th and Hitler. Understand it. The Catholic Church funded Hitler's Holocaust. Yeah, Hitler also was born half Jewish on his dad's side, but when his parents died, and I think it was after his girlfriend also killed herself, he became a vegetarian, then converted to Catholicism. And Catholicism is a sect of Christianity. It is not the Christian faith. And the current pope is a Jesuit, child molesting Nazi pope. Yeah. A series of recently opened Vatican archives are shedding new light on the relationship between Pope Pius XII and Hitler as he led Nazi Germany during World War II, and a new book takes a deeper look at their revelations. Historian David Ketzer, author of The Pope at War, The Secret History of Pope Pius XII, Mussolini, and Hitler, joins Emma. Okay. A series of recently opened Vatican archives are shedding. Yeah, already. Okay. Judy, in 2020, the Vatican released millions of documents on Pope Pius XII that were previously hidden from public view. These include transcripts of negotiations between the Pope and Hitler. The Pope and Hitler. A new book published today takes a deeper look at these revelations. Historian David Kertzer, the author of the book, it's called The Pope at War. Okay. So, a lot of folks know previous versions of the history around Pius the 12th went one or two ways, right? He was either called Hitler's Pope and an anti-Semite, which he was. He was a staunch. He fucking hated the Jews he took the stance like the Catholic Church that they should be exterminated for killing Jesus. Yeah. The story was that he did everything in his power to save as many Jews, and then he handed them over. Yeah, what he did was he brought them into Vatican and then handed them right over to the Nazis to be exterminated. As many Jews as he could. But actually, after reviewing the documents, what's your understanding? He literally handed these people over to the fucking Nazis. Yeah, to get them exterminated. He was a monster. He actually fucking, it's the guy, him and Hitler had a lot of, communication. They talked a lot. Yeah. And it's, it's like this. They communicated fucking a lot with each other. Hitler and the Pope. They both believed the same thing. Hitler converted to Catholicism because he and the Pope actually believed the Jews should be exterminated. Right here, I'm going to read this better than that. The Pope's secret back channel to Hitler. I got that. In August 1939, as he was financing plans for the invasion of Poland, Adolf Hitler was also engaged in negotiations with Pope Pius XII. Dictate that not even the German ambassador to the Holy See knew about them. The extent of these talks was a secret the Vatican was eager to maintain long after Pius XII's death, as it did for 8 decades. The 12-volume compilation of Holy See's documents on the Second World War, completed in 1981, which to date has constituted the official record of the Vatican's activity during that period, contains no reference to the negotiations acknowledged of them has only now come to light with the recent opening of Pius XII's archives at the Vatican. Yeah, he was quite the monster. Few topics in church history or the history of the Second World War are as wholly contested as Pius XII's decision to avoid direct public criticism of Hitler or his regime. The church funded Hitler, or to remain publicly silent in the face of the Holocaust, because many in the Catholic Church hated the Jews. This is not actually a secret. Many church conservatives portray Pius as a non-ethical... God, I hate trying to pronounce fucking... atheist, a steadfast, encouraged foe of... No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. He was not. This is actually a lie. Others have harshly criticized him for failing to denounce. He didn't denounce him. He supported him. This is what they do not realize, that he fucking supported Hitler financially. Yeah. This here's the thing. These two were fucking, and the Pope after it, they all worked. The church worked with Hitler to exterminate the Jews. So yeah, this whole thing, this is not surprising. These people hate Russia, and I said this in a tweet. They hate Russia because they know Russia won World War II, and that's why they straight up want to destroy Russia, because they cannot admit to themselves, without Russia, they didn't win World War II. Why do you think they're now saying, oh, it was, Boris Johnson comes out? Because Ukraine was a part of fucking Russia. It was part of the Soviet Union, and he says, yeah, Ukraine was fighting. He's talking about, understand it. These people, we would never have gone to war if it wasn't for FDR fucking up and putting that embargo on Japan. We never would have gone to war. You got to realize, many Americans had no problem with what Hitler was doing. They hated the Jews in America. America had a very hate for the Jews. Yeah, you go look it up. Many Americans actually supported what Hitler was doing. The only reason we got in the war is because FDR fucked up when it came to the Japanese. So, yeah. You go look up, there was so much, so I said that. Nobody could come back and say, oh, but, you can watch my other videos on this. I did a video about how the CIA brought Nazis in, how our government had Nazis. There were Nazis fled that were helped by the U.S., by Canada, by fucking England, and the West. With the church, got them into South America, into places like Brazil and Argentina. This is actually not secret. So when they try to act like, when the American government acts like, we were the ones, no, it was Russia. Russia had every reason to hate the Nazis for invading and killing so many Russians. No, the Americans, our government loved Adolf Hitler. That's why they brought them in here. So yeah, I just want to talk about this. Fuck all this Nazi shit. Yeah. This is Gilgamesh. I'll talk to you later. Bye.